Today we are breaking down weeks 9 through 18 of the Bo Nix stat prediction. Picking up on week 9, heading into the rest of the season, getting his stat prediction going into the weekend. Thank you guys for coming in to another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz.
Tune in, now it's time to sit. Orange and blue, we never quit. Broncos pride is lit legit. Every week we're bringing grit. Orange and blue, we bring the heat. Podcast grinding can't be beat. Every play, every stop we meet. Blitz so hard it's on repeat. My high dreams we elevate. Break it down, we narrate. From the field to the fan debate. Broncos Country, we dominate. We got the passion, we got the drive. Orange and blue keeps us alive. Every tackle, every stride. It's the Blitz where legends thrive.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz. I am your host, Isaiah Henderson, also known as the Bronco Gentleman. Welcome to the show brought to you by the Orange and Blue Network in partnership with our brothers in blue and orange, MHRT. If you guys are here from MHRT, go ahead over to Orange and Blue Network. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. And if you're here from Orange and Blue, head over to MHRT, subscribe to their channel on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch as well. Guys, we are here to break down Bo Nix's stat prediction from what do we finish at? Week 8, week 9, on to the rest of the season. And so far, at the conclusion of week 9, Bo Nix is definitely in the MVP conversation. He's got 72.3%, 2,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. I think realistically, the interceptions is a good number coming into week 8. I think the touchdowns as well, good number. Because I know that we play some easy games, but also know that we're very competitive. So when we play these tough games, we're going to put up points. And I don't know if his completion percentage will be that high, 72.3% going into week 8. But I definitely expect his completion percentage to increase. So he finished the season last year at 66%. I expect that to increase minimally to 68% by the end of the season. So let's pull this screen up right here. So that's getting ready to pull up. So news on the prediction board. I talked to work yesterday. See if we have any error ones. That way we can hook that up. So that way we can organize this and not have all these post-it notes everywhere. Week 9. All right, so week 9 we play Houston Texans. We just came off of a win against Cowboys. We're playing the Texans. So the Texans have a really good defense. I think the Texans will have a top 5, if not a top 3 defense this year. Texans' weakness will be their offensive line. I think against worse defenses and worse pass rushes, they'll be able to skate by and get some wins. I think teams like the Broncos, where we have a good established defense, a good defensive line, a good pass rush, that's going to be hard to hide. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think that their defense all around, their pass rushers, even though Nick Needle and Jonathan Cooper finished with the most sacks by a duo in the NFL, last year. The Texans were right behind. So they have a good pass rush, good interior defensive line, and a good defense. There we go. Yeah, a good pass coordinator. Sorry about that, guys. A good pass coordinator in D'Amico Ryans. I think, and they have a younger secondary, but they have a good secondary. I think Derek Stingley is the second best cornerback in the NFL. I think he's going to be elite. I think Pat Surtain is on another level. And we all just saw that video that went viral of all the receivers, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Jamar Chase, all discussing how to go against Pat Surtain and Chad Ochocinco, trying to teach them different ways. And, they're just they're discussing, that's not going to work. And they're just describing how elite he is. That's Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think Derek Stingley is too far behind him. I think Derek Stingley is really good. I just think Pat Surtain is just on another level. But I think Derek Stingley is just as good and can have his elite prime as long as Pat Surtain has his elite prime. He's that good. But their secondary is not as veteran. They're good. They're great. But they're not as good as the Broncos secondary. So with this game, I think that it's definitely going to be a run-heavy game. This is definitely going to be a game where it's not as whereas you want to – it's not necessarily keep the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hand. This isn't necessarily that game because, like I said, they have their offensive line is a little iffy. So it won't be an issue getting them off the field or creating a tough pass rush or anything like that. But the issue is going to be moving the ball against their defense. And so I think this is a game where you don't want to throw the ball in the air, constantly have to drop back, give their pass rush. Sorry, guys, having awful internet issues today. There we go. This isn't a game where you want to have Bo Nix throwing the ball or you don't want to give their secondary a chance or whatever the case may be. Regardless of how creative Sean Payton is, regardless of how good our offensive line is, that's just not what you want to do. As you can see in the playoffs against the Chargers last year, and they have a majority of their defense coming back. They did try to go after Drake Greenlaw, and we have Drake Greenlaw. So we do have maybe a linebacker edge, which may be something to exploit. I think Evan Ingram's going to have a big game that game because of that. But this is definitely a game where you want to run the ball. You want to beat them up, make them tackle. Not saying they can't, but this is a game where you're going to make them tackle. And so I do have us winning week 9, 21-17. So it is which I did predict, was a low-scoring game. So 21-17, that's going to be a ground and pound game. I think that's where J.K. Dobbins really has a good game. This is where you want to use in chunks. You want to come in and immediately make them play, get them out of their rhythm, out of their game plan, and have to adjust to you. And this is where you come out and you start pounding the rock. You expect Sean Payton, especially after put up 31 against the Cowboys the week prior. You think Sean Payton's going to try and come in Houston and just throw the ball over the field. But, this is where the disciplined running comes in. You beat them up. You bring up that safety. You make that linebacker tackle. You make that, you make them get in the trenches with this elite offensive line. Build our confidence for this offensive line. And that's when, you get these motions. Bo Nix play action, running back out of the backfield. You want to so used to the run, get them bruised up, and then you throw in all these motions. And you move the ball strategically. And I think this is going to be a tough game. This is going to be an AFC conference game. And so I have us winning 21-17. So I'm going to have Bo Nix's stat prediction. I'm going to have him at let's go 19 to 20, 16 of 25, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So, 16 to 25, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception. So that's we get the win. We come out of Houston. We go into Houston. We get the win. That's what matters the most. Bo Nix, 16 to 25, 210 touchdowns, 1 touchdown against an elite defense. That means this was – but on the flip side, let's say J.K. Dobbins has 21 rushes for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that gives us 21. Bo Nix has a passing touchdown. J.K. Dobbins has over 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I think I'll take that stat prediction. I think I'll take that win, and I'll take, that's no interceptions. We're taking care of the ball. He's not giving the ball away. Like I said, we don't want to go into Houston and throw the ball all over the field against this defense, potentially turn the ball over. Because, going into this game, this game against Houston, remember, Bo Nix is only at 5 interceptions so far. So he's taking care of the ball so far coming into this Houston game. So it's going to it's not going to be too bad. So he's already been efficient throughout the year and take care of the football, and that goes hand in hand with Sean Payton and his play calling and the different guys you have and the different teams you play. And so this is an example of this game. Let me go ahead and blow this up for you guys now that we are in business. Bow. Right there. We are at week 9 against Houston. And so the Bo Nix predicted stat line for week 9 against Houston is 16 to 25, 210 yards, 1 touchdown. I think that should be about sub 70%, 64% completion percentage, 210 yards, 1 touchdown. That's fine. We get the win. Take care of the ball. And so now we go week 10. So week 10, I have us winning week 10 pretty handedly. And that's against playing the Raiders. Raiders put up 3 touchdowns, but I think our defense is just that much better. I think our offense is much better than their defense. I think because it's a divisional game, it starts out close, but I think the second half we take off. And I think this is, after the previous week where, we had to be disciplined and run the ball. Sean Payton wants to keep J.K. Dobbins healthy. Doesn't want to put everything on his back again. So this isn't a game where you ground and pound. This is a game where you can mix and match, go in shotgun. Evan Ingram's going to have all these big games because it's a mismatch, but this is Cortland Sutton does really well against the Raiders. I think this is a good Troy Franklin game as well. Definitely an RJ Harvey game. This is a game where if the previous game J.K. Dobbins against the Texans had 21-22 rushes, maybe this is a game right after where that was a ground and pound defensive game where RJ Harvey steps in this game and he has more of the touches. This is probably maybe a breakout, a good game for RJ Harvey against the Raiders. So I think this is going to be a reasonably efficient game for Bo Nix. Excuse me. So I'm going to have him going. We put up 5 touchdowns total. So I'm going to have him going 23 of 32. 317 yards. 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 interception. So we come out with the win. Good stat line, over 300 yards again. But like I told you, this second half of the season, his completion percentage is definitely going to decrease. I think his passing yards and his touchdowns are going to remain the same. But I think as defenses adjust, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Bo Nix is going to have a sophomore slump because coaches are going to watch film." But as we've said 1,000 times, they haven't had film with Bo Nix and Sean Payton with a run game and a tight end, which is what we have. So they're not going to have film at the beginning of the year, the same way we won't have film on Cam Ward the first game of the season. But by week 9, week 10, they're going to have film of J.K. Dobbins, especially if at this point in time we've only lost once. We've only lost once. I know, give or take, there are a couple of games which I call a push. We could go either way. Like, for example, the Cowboys game. I can see us dropping that Cowboys game. I said we'd keep up the streak, but I can see us dropping that Cowboys game. It's an NFC game, not one that's not going to hurt us in the AFC. We're riding high at this point in time. But especially riding high at this point in time, everybody's talking about us. Everybody's watching the film on us. So there's not going to be anything hidden. But I do think that his completion percentage, because of that, will drop throughout the year. But like I said, the floor of this year, I'm going to say my expectation for Bo Nix is 68% completion percentage. That determination, his completion percentage and his interception numbers are going to be the determination of whether or not Bo Nix takes the step in year 2. I hear a lot of people say he may have less yards and touchdowns. A lot of people want to look at yards and touchdowns to determine how good the quarterback is. That's true, and it is a good metric, and Bo Nix is in the record books because of that. But I think what separates the great quarterbacks from the elite quarterbacks is interceptions and completion percentage. And with that being said, for example, Drew Brees was a great example of that. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer because of his low interception, his low turnover ratio. Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer because of his high completion percentage. Similarly, that's why I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL, is because although the other quarterbacks are more dynamic, I think Joe Burrow has high completion percentage and low interception in addition to passing touchdowns and passing yards. So that's what I'm going to look at for Bo Nix as a year 2 step. Or does he turn the ball over less than 12 interceptions? And in doing so, because what you don't want is you don't want just to take away the negative, but you want to add the positive. That's the definition of good, in my opinion. Is not you took away the negative, but you added positive. So you took away the negative, which are interceptions, but you added the positive, which is completion percentage. And I think that's what I'm going to look for a year 2 jump. So 23 of 32. What is that completion percentage? 71%. So it definitely went up after that 64% against the Texans. But you expect that too, because like he did against the Falcons or like he did against the Panthers. When they're bad defenses or teams that play a lot of zone, Bo Nix is really good against the zone, which is why that I think that Eagles game is going to be a lot closer than people think, or a lot more competitive than people think, because Vic Fangio does not blitz. If he doesn't have to, he likes to rush 4, and he plays a lot of zone. We know that. He was, he was our head coach, and he really began the offense. Vic Fangio's defense and scheme changed how offenses played and adjusted. Vic Fangio is the reason why the run game is coming back. Vic Fangio's defensive scheme is the reason why running backs are more valued now. It's because he put the 2 high safeties, 2 high shell, and said, we're just going to play back and not give you anything deep, and we'll just rally up. So team said, okay, to beat that, we're just going to run the ball and make you come and play up. And so that's why, because a lot of teams adopted that defensive scheme. And so now offenses are adjusting. Similarly, the type of offenses that are adjusting is the Sean Payton scheme. Under center, run the ball to open up the pass, lots of motion. Detroit Lions ran it well, but, that's another Dan Campbell tree, which came from Sean Payton and things like that. So it's interesting how they adjust. But 71 completion percentage, the Vegas runs a lot of zone. I think they're running a lot more man this year. But then we have week 11 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I have us losing that game, 21-24. We lose by a field goal to the Chiefs. And I think this is, and I remember I said this when we originally made the stat prediction. I think that losing to the Chiefs here, there's never a good way of losing or saying to lose. But we know how momentum goes. We know how life goes. setbacks can always work in our favor depending on how we view the setback. And at this point in time, if we've only lost once or twice, we're still doing good. We're still putting up numbers. We just came off a divisional win. Now we're paying. At this point in time, we beat the Chargers and we've beat the Raiders. We're 2-0 in the division. We could be. We'll be at this point in time. We'll be number one. Depending on week one against Kansas City and the Chargers, I think that's going to set the tone not only for the AFC West but for the AFC, because the Chiefs are AFC champions. How they start off their season in a divisional game is going to determine whether or not they're going to be dethroned. So that's going to be a good question on that. But at this point in time, going 2-0. Shy in the comments says we're sweeping the Kansas City Chiefs. I can see that, and I won't disagree with that. And if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong in this instance. But let's say we don't, and we split with them. I say we sweep the Chargers, but we split with the Chiefs. So we have that. They come to Denver, and right before a bye week, we lose by a field goal, and that puts this nasty, bitter taste in our mouth. We're upset. It's coming down to the second half of the season. We got to have this bitter taste in our mouth for 2 weeks before prime time. And now everybody's going to be talking about how Denver was 2-0 in the division, and now they lost to the Chiefs, and maybe we're just not there yet, whatever the case may be. And so 21-24, division game, we don't beat up on them like the Raiders. So I think it's going to be a tough, drug-out game. Once again, another low-scoring game. We only put up 3 touchdowns, and I think it's going to be one of those where Steve Spagnuolo may have adjusted to Bo Nix so far, but I think we're going to get them later on because of this. Sean Payton's then going to adjust, and that's going to come back later on the Christmas game. So week 11, I have Bo Nix going 21 of 34, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. In a loss, so he puts up 2 touchdowns. He has 242 yards. Not as efficient. We lose going into the bye week, 61%. So far, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, Bo Nix has had a sub 70%, sub 65% completion percentage. Bring them back down to earth a little bit. But we go into the bye week. We got a bitter taste in our mouth. Week 12, bye week, week 13, we come to prime time. This is the game that everybody wants to see. Houston, that game against Houston is going to be huge, but this game right here, coming out of the bye week, both teams coming out of the bye week, rookie of the year and runner-up, second quarterback taken, sixth quarterback taken. Both took their team to the playoffs. Both had outstanding years for a rookie quarterback. This game's going to be a shootout. This game is prime time. I think this is where Sean Payton's going to be in his bag. I think this is a game where Sean Payton abandons the run. He uses it as needed. I think this is going to be an RJ Harvey game. This is an RJ Harvey game where he brings out all his tools and his tricks, and he's not using J.K. Dobbins at the backfield. It's Marvin. You'll see split back of Marvin Mims, RJ Harvey. You're going to have a wheel route here and an angle route here, or an out route here, or a choice route here. And I'm telling you, it's just going to be beautiful. This is going to be a game. And what do I have? Is week 13? Yes, I was winning 35-31. Like I said, it's going to be a shootout. 35-31. Bo Nix drives us down for a game-winning drive to beat the Washington Commanders in Washington out of the bye week. You can see how hyped I am for this game. Lord willing, I will be at this game. But this game right here, it's not a rivalry, but it's renewed because both teams have been looking for that franchise quarterback. Both teams had an ownership change. Both teams had a culture change. Both teams got their franchise quarterback in the same draft. Both teams' fan base were going at it, talking about who the best quarterback was. There was a stretch where they were just about even, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody knew Jaden Daniels was going to be great, but they didn't know Bo Nix was going to be just as great. And so this is head-to-head. This is mano-a-mano, no excuses. Put it all on the field. Who's got the better coach? Who's got the better team? This is going to be a shootout. And this is a game where Sean Payton gets in his bag and he shows why he drafted the better quarterback. Why he believes he drafted the better quarterback. Why he drafted the better quarterback. And so this is a game where we just throwing it across the yard. Just throwing it across the yard. So I'm going to go 31-42. 367 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like I said, it's an absolute madhouse. I think this is going to be, how many interceptions did Bo throw against Cincinnati? 1? I think maybe 2. I know he threw 1 to Jermaine Pratt. I think 1. I think he only threw 1. But this is a game where, like Cincinnati, he's going back and forth with, and a lot of people don't think about it this way. And I remember I was listening to 104.3, and they were saying, he said he doesn't think Joe Burrow is that far, or he doesn't think that Bo Nix is that far behind Joe Burrow. And I understood what he was saying, and he didn't mention it, so I'm going to mention it here of why he thinks that. And he just didn't I'm not mentioning, but Bo Nix went into Cincinnati last year and went head-to-head with Joe Burrow and took him to overtime as a rookie with no running back. The run game was a little bit better that game because the Bengals defense sucks. But they went shot for shot. They score, we score. You drive to the NFL, we drive to the NFL. They were going shot for shot in a shootout. And so we were worried about, okay, do we have the quarterback that can get in a shootout? When Jameis Winston put up 400 yards, Bo Nix was throwing deep balls from the 2-yard line to Marvin Mims. When it came to the Cincinnati Bengals, he's going shot for shot. When it came against the Chiefs, the first game, you couldn't stop the Broncos offense. You couldn't stop Bo Nix. We have a guy who can get in a shootout, and I think this is the game where we get in a shootout similar to the Cincinnati game last year, except this time we get over the mountain. We get to the mountaintop. We don't go. We should have gone for 2, but instead of going to overtime, we game-winning drive, and we win this game in a shootout. 367 yards, 4 touchdowns, 31-42. Let's see, what is that? 31-42, 73% completion percentage. Great bounce back game. After Luke coming out of the bye. Back on top. All right, week 14. All right, so who we got? Week 14. Back to the Raiders again. And I have us winning in week 14, 27-17. We're winning again by the first time we won by 14. This time we won by 10. Lower scoring game. We still win. I'm going to go Bo Nix stat line. Was in week 10. What did I have in week 10? 71%, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interceptions. I'm going to go. He's going to have 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this game. I'm going to go 278 yards. (21-29). So 21-29. Let's see what that completion percentage is. 72%. So now he's on a hot streak. Sweep the Raiders, like I know we will. All right. Just beat the Raiders. Now we play the Packers. I have us losing to the Packers 21-28. Now, as I said earlier, I remember I said either earlier this week or last week that I think that Packers and that Chargers game is interchangeable. But I don't think that anymore. I think we're going to sweep the Chargers, but I think we're going to split with the Chiefs. I think we're going to sweep the Chargers, but split with the Chiefs and take over number 1 in the division and win the West this year. But I do have us losing to Green Bay, and I have us going 21-27. And so Bo Nix only has one touchdown this game. One touchdown, 0 interceptions. Just having an off game. More run heavy. Running backs are going to have to carry this game. This is a game where the offense doesn't just get going. We look tired. For whatever reason, that's twice we come back. And oddly enough, I don't know what this is, but so far in this season, every time we beat the Raiders, I have us losing the next week. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's excitement about going up in the division and being a division rival and being complacent the next week. But yeah, so far we beat the Raiders. We're 3-1 in the division. Close to Christmas time. We play Green Bay. We play them close, but we lose by a touchdown. Defense can't hold on in this game. Maybe, I don't want to say an injury, knock on wood. But whatever the case may be, we lose the game. Bo Nix has one touchdown, 0 interceptions. Let's see. 18-27. 237 yards. What's his completion percentage? I think once again, 66% completion. I think Josh Jacobs has a good game, so it's a run the game. They can't throw against our secondary. So they're going to try and depend on Josh Jacobs in this game. And it might be a time of possession game where, defense can't get off the field, offense can't stay on it, or we're inconsistent. And, we're just lethargic this game. And we come out with a loss. So week 16, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did say we were going to lose the Jaguars. That's what I wrote. I remember I said that because I said we're going to lose to the Chargers, but we're not going to lose to the Jaguars. Let's see how many losses we have coming, because we did say we're going 13-4. So far, I have us losing to the Packers, to the Chiefs, to the Eagles. That's 3. And then we would have to lose one more. And I said the Jaguars. I said we split with the Chiefs. And I said we swept the Chargers. So if that were to remain true, because I'm trying to think, how do we win the division? To win the division, we have to sweep either the Chiefs or the Chargers. And so far, we've beat the Chargers and we've lost to the Chiefs in this prediction. So do I go with what Shai says and we sweep the Chiefs and split with the Chargers? That would mean that we still need another loss somewhere. And I remember earlier I said that Cowboys game was fungible. Because it's an NFC game. So that can go either or. So do I want to? So I think what I'm going to do is, would you guys rather lose to the Jaguars, a team we're not supposed to lose to, or lose to the Cowboys? Or if we're looking at the schedule, is there another loss in here? I said we were going to beat the Texans. The Texans is another one, which can go either or. And so if we beat the Cowboys and we lose to the Texans, I think that's better than losing either to the Chargers or the Jaguars. What's that score? What is this? Week 9. What did I say for week 9? I'm going to flip that. And so it says 21-17, we win. I'm going to flip that and say 21-17, we lose week 9. Like I said, the defense is good. And I think that can definitely give us trouble. What was his week 9 stats? 210 yards, 1 touchdown. I can give him 2 touchdowns in that one, or I'll keep that one the same. But I still gave him a 64% completion percentage with 210 yards. So it was already a struggle offensively. So I'm going to give us that loss to the Texans, we still beat the Cowboys because I just can't give us a loss to the Cowboys in good conscience. I just can't do it, guys. I'm sorry. And I can't have us lose to the Jaguars because we're just not supposed to lose that game. But so far we have, so at this point in time, what are the losses? I say we went 13-4. So Philadelphia, Houston, the Chiefs, and Green Bay. 4 losses. So that means we're going to win out the rest of the season. So week 16 against the Jaguars, I'm changing the score on that one. I think week 15, after losing to the Packers, I think we beat the crap out of the Jaguars. I think we just absolutely beat the crap out of the Jaguars. And so I'm going to say this is going to be a 4-touchdown game. It's going to be like 38 to like 17. 4-touchdown game, no interceptions. Let's see. His stat line is going to probably be 28 to 35. I think we just beat the crap out of him. 80%. And so we are winning out the remainder of the season. And so these last 2 games are for the division. This is for the division. So in this is okay. So going 13-4. Okay. All right, I'm going to have to change that again. So there's a few of these games I'm going back and forth on because they're such good matchups. And by saying we went out against – no, we split with the Chargers. No, okay, so I'm going to say that we sweep the Chiefs, we split with the Chargers. We actually go back and beat the Texans. So I'm flipping the loss with the Texans with the Chargers. And so that's still going to, because I think here the Chargers are going to prevent us from sweeping the division. But it's also going to give them possibly the wild card spot. So I'm going to say that we beat the Texans. Still keep that stat line of 21-17. We beat the Texans. But we lose to the Chargers last game of the season. So week 17, Christmas game, primetime. I predicted earlier that if I'm saying we sweep the Chiefs but split with the Chargers, that means that week 11 win would be flopped. It would be we beat them by a field goal, which would be poetic justice. We actually win by a field goal, which I actually like the sound of that better. Chiefs coming to Arrowhead. We go to Arrowhead. We haven't beat them in Arrowhead in years. So Christmas game, primetime. Broncos and Bo Nix officially cement themselves as AFC West winners. I think if you beat the Chargers once, you beat the Raiders twice, and then you beat the Chiefs twice, you have 5 wins in the division. This is for the division. So Christmas Day game, what was the score that I had for week 17? 31-24. 31-24. And so either it's a game-winning drive or our defense holds them. And I think with their mix and match offensive line, they will have their receivers back. But with their offensive line, I think we get the better of them. So 31-24. Bo Nix has, let's see, 2 touchdowns. What is that? 1, 2, 3. 0 interceptions. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And let's see his passing yards. What was the score? 31-24. So I'm going to give him 325 yards. 20 25 of 36. 25 of 36, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Against the Chiefs, his completion percentage will be 69%. Completion percentage against the Chiefs. And here we have the last game. So at this point in time, we have the division. We have 5 wins. We've swept the Raiders. We've swept the Chiefs. We beat the Chargers in week 3. The division is ours. We've clinched the playoff spot. Now we're just waiting top 4. Where do we rank? We've only lost 3 games so far. So we're in the top 3. Chargers are fighting for their lives. They want this game. They're hungry for this game. This is going to be our 4th loss to make us 13-4. This will be the final game. Week 18. And because they're hungry and they wanted more, we're a little reserved in this game. What was the score for this? I did not write the score for this. There's no prediction for this one. But there's going to be one now. So week 18 score prediction and stat prediction for Bo Nix is going to be the Chargers are going to get this win 27-24. They get in the wild card, or they're however that, Chiefs and Chargers are both in the wild card because the Broncos won. Bo Nix stat prediction. It's going to be an easy like game. We're not trying to go out there and get hurt. We already clinched a playoff spot. It's just a game where if we've clinched a playoff spot and we've clinched the division, this is a game where we sit our starters. Based on this prediction. So at this point in time, let me take a step back because we're sitting our starters. So Bo Nix won't have any stats. So I'm just going to give the score prediction because our backups are going to be playing. It's probably going to be a butt whooping, probably 31-0. We're going to lose 31-0 because the Chargers, we sit our starters because we've already clinched the playoffs. We've already clinched the division. We finished 13-4. And so that is the Bo Nix stat prediction. So now we're going to add up Bo Nix's total season stats with him sitting. Now, ironically, last year, the last game of the season boosted his stats even higher. Now, I wonder how that's going to be this year with him possibly sitting the last game. So we are going to add up week 9 through, I guess it'd be through 17. Week 9 through 17. And so this is going to take a little math here. All right, guys. So I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, I will definitely have those numbers for you. And let's see, is he an MVP category? Is he Offensive Player of the Year? What's he looking like? Team went 13-4. And so we are going to see. All right, guys, I'll be back. All right, guys, we are back with the numbers, and I'm liking the numbers, and I think that this is definitely Bo Nix's ceiling. This is definitely his ceiling, and I think that the only question is, can it be his consistent ceiling? And the reason why I say that is because when I think of Sean Payton's offense and Sean Payton's quarterback, I think of Drew Brees and Drew Brees' numbers and how he was able to put up those numbers consistently. And so the only last thing, I didn't want to have you guys waiting for too long, but the only last thing I'm calculating now is his final completion percentage. But so far, I like the numbers so far. So for week 9, we have 64% completion percentage. Week 10, we've got 71. Week 11, 61. Week 12 was a bye. Week 13 was 73% completion percentage. Week 14, 72. Week 15 was 66. Week 16 was a big game, 80%. And finally, week 17 was 69%. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So from week 9 through week 17, his completion percentage was 69%. 69% completion percentage. Now, remember, I did say that his completion percentage was going to drop the second half. So from weeks 1 through weeks 8, his completion percentage was 72%. And weeks 9 through 17, it's 69.5. So let's see. So he finishes with a 70.9% completion percentage. Borderline on 71. That's Joe Burrow numbers. I put, that could be plus or minus. That probably, remember, 68% is the floor. I think 70 to 71% is the ceiling. So I'm basically, this season is his ceiling. Predict his second year, and the reason why I'm saying it's the opposite of a sophomore slump, and that it's his ceiling is because it's his second year in a system with the same offensive coordinator, the same scheme, the same quarterback coach for the first time in a decade since high school in his life, and he's progressed each time and gotten better. And how much more can he do that with the same offensive line, same defense, same area to live? You just give him better pieces. He did all of that last year, got in the rookie record book with one receiver, no running back room, no tight end room. Now you give him a running back room and a tight end, and the same coach. And an elite offensive line, number 2 offensive line in the NFL, and a predicted number 1 defense. I don't know what you expect. I don't know what you're expecting. If I didn't tell you the team or the quarterback, and I said, okay, how far do you think this team is going to go? And I'm going to give you these characteristics of this team, okay? Last year, this team went 10-7. Went 10-7 for the first time in a decade and made the playoffs. This year, going into the next year after that, they are predicted to have the number 2 offensive line and the number 1 defense in the NFL. How far do you think that team's going to go? If you did not know the team or the quarterback or the head coach, and I just said they're predicted to have the number 1 defense and the number 2 offensive line. That's all I'm going to tell you about this team. So you add that into what the rest of it is. And so Bo Nix's stat line prediction. We'll go ahead and type this in. Because remember, we went 13-4. So we'll go ahead and type this in. It is, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to just reveal it on the screen. And this is his ceiling. This is his ceiling. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So after the whole schedule breakdown, Bo Nix's stat prediction from the Orange and Blue Network, I think, is his ceiling. But it's not improbable. 4,606 yards, 42 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 70.9% completion percentage. That's about Joe Burrow's stat last year. I think that's what Joe Burrow's stats put up last year, I believe. Let me see. Because he led the league with these stats. Joe Burrow last year had 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions in 70 games. He completed 70.6% of his passes. So these are MVP numbers. I think that this is the ceiling of Bo Nix. Will Bo Nix put up these numbers this year? I'd be a prophet. I'd be a prophet if that was the case, but I think that he can get to these numbers. He has 2 more interceptions than Joe Burrow. Like I said, I'm pretty sure his completion, I would give his completion percentage realistically, probably about 68.5% completion percentage. That's just being realistic. But that's still good. 42 touchdowns. I think he can get over 40 touchdowns. Total touchdowns last year, he had 34. That's with no tight end and 1 receiver. And he didn't throw a touchdown his first 4 weeks. So you have to add, and a lot of people forget that. They're like, oh, I think he's going to take a step back in touchdowns. Well, he didn't throw a touchdown for his first 4 weeks. So if you add in the touchdowns that he would have thrown his first 4 weeks, maybe he would have thrown, if you give him 2 touchdowns per game in those 4 games on average, that would have been what? 8 touchdowns the first 4 weeks. You add that to his total, what is that? 37 touchdowns passing. That's what the first 4 weeks. You assume he doesn't go in this prediction. He doesn't go a game without throwing a passing touchdown. I predict that doesn't happen again. I don't think, at least. Yeah, there's no game where he throws 1 touchdown in a couple of games, but there's no game where he doesn't throw any passing touchdowns. So if you had in the last 5 weeks, the first 4 weeks of last season, he would have had 37 touchdowns. And so what you're saying is, okay, add a running game, the second-year receivers, and a great tight end. Can he get 5 more touchdowns than he would have had last year, having a touchdown every game? That's, 42 isn't too much. 3,600 yards passing. Last year, Bo Nix finished with 3,775 yards passing. And so what this is can Bo Nix get 900 extra yards passing this year? And I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again. If you have the thing with Javonte Williams was like 4 or 5 in the NFL with running back targets last year. Sean Payton loves to throw the ball to the running back. But he didn't have any shake or wiggle, so he didn't earn any yards after the catch. He got tackled where he was. You get a running back who can make yards after the catch and a tight end as well, and better developed receivers. Between the running back and Evan Ingram, I think you can get 700 passing yards. Between Dobbins, Harvey, and Ingram, you can get an extra 700 passing yards. That's all you're asking for, is can you get 900 extra passing yards between 3 people. Not to mention, does Troy Franklin have more yards? Does Vele have more yards? All these yards that these extra guys are going to get gets attributed to Bo. So him getting 4,600 yards is saying, hey, can he get 900 extra yards across let's just not even include Sutton, because I predicted he could have 1,400 yards this year. Let's just say Sutton had the exact same amount of yards he did last year. Can Bo Nix find 900 extra yards between the rest of those guys, including Marvin Mims? Yes, I believe so. 8 touchdowns. I'm gonna say plus or minus 2. I think he finished with 12 last year. Remember, one of the things I said for improvement is his decrease in interception numbers, and I think out of all the things that can jump this year, I think the decrease in interceptions is one that can really decrease. And I think him throwing 4 less interceptions, throwing 8 interceptions, is not a big ask at all. I think out of all the things I've predicted, biased or not, I think 8 interceptions is very realistic. I think it's more real. It's very realistic. And like I said, 70.9%. Like I said, I predict 70.9 is maybe the ceiling, but I could see 68.5%. this year. So, guys, we have all the predictions for week 1 through 18, finishing 13-4. Bo Nix is definitely in the MVP conversation. And we're definitely in the top 4 in the playoffs, winning the division. So, successful year, Super Bowl contenders. Absolutely love it. Guys, we are getting ready. We are closing out here, but don't forget, today is Friday. So you have Vivos Los Broncos tonight at 6 p.m. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this with your friends and family. Training camp is next week. I think the guys report the 16th, so they report next Wednesday. The rookies report next Wednesday, guys. So football season is here, and I think July 31st we got some football game, the Lions versus Chargers. So football's back, baby. Football is back. Thanks for being with us over here at Orange and Blue Blitz, brought to you by the Orange and Blue Network in partnership with MHRT. Mile high salute to you all, and we will see you guys tonight and next.